Here in Germany, government plans to partially legalize cannabis are taking shape. The country's health minister says that possessing and growing small amounts of cannabis for private use will be allowed. If Parliament passes the proposals, distribution will be handled by consumer associations. A 5-year test phase will limit the sale of cannabis products to a few outlets. The health minister says that the aim here is to protect the public.
We want to prevent cannabis leading to the consumption of harder drugs. We want to better protect the youth. We want to fight the black market. We want to push back drug-related crime. We want to get a grip on the steadily increasing toxicity of the products. In other words, we don't want to create a problem, but contribute to the resolution of an unsolved problem.
Well, our political correspondent, Simon Young, he's following this story for us. It's good to see you, Simon. So what exactly will be allowed if this proposal gets the go-ahead?
Yeah, Brent, acquiring and possessing up to 25 grams of cannabis for personal consumption will be legal, as well as growing a maximum of 3 cannabis plants at home. So that's the sort of headline on this. The government's also proposing allowing non-profit associations, essentially cannabis clubs, which would sort of cultivate plants and distribute cannabis to their members. Now, the government says, you know, this is all good. It helps consumers. It will make things safer. It'll fight the shady dealings on the black market and so on. Political opposition, particularly the Conservative opposition, is much more critical. They say that this kind of legalisation opens up the potential for harms, particularly to young people. But I think there'll be quite a few people around Germany who will be happy that in future, you know, smoking a joint with a few friends at home will no longer be a criminal offence.
And Simon, the original plan by the government was for a much wider, a more extensive liberalization, if you will. I mean, why is that not happening?
Well, yeah, the government's original plans were much more ambitious. For instance, they included the sale of cannabis through licensed shops. But I think the legal experts have looked at this and decided that it's not going to be compatible with EU rules and with some other international agreements. For instance, the Schengen Agreement, which effectively got rid of national borders in much of the European Union, that actually explicitly requires governments to prevent the export and distribution and so on of cannabis. And of course, Germany and its 9 neighbours are all members of the Schengen zone. So that would be a difficulty. So this slimmed down plan, I think, might pass the rules better. And as you mentioned, there'll be a sort of pilot project in a few places to sell cannabis through licensed shops. That's then going to be studied. And once they've got a bit of scientific data, maybe they'll try to introduce that part of the original plan at a later date.
And Simon, what's the situation across Europe in terms of legalization? Is Germany taking the lead here?
Well, in Europe, you've got some weed-friendly countries. People perhaps think of the Netherlands in particular, but actually those original plans of the German government went much further than even the arrangements in the Netherlands. What we're going to have now, what's been announced today, is rather less ambitious. Of course, there are different arrangements in the different European countries, and quite a few of them, for instance, have allowed cannabis for medical purposes for quite some time. I think another thing to say is things are changing on this, and it's increasingly being still seen as a public health question rather than a question of criminal wrongdoing.
Our political correspondent, Simon Young, with the latest on legalizing cannabis here in Germany. Simon, thank you.